There we are. We are
Here we are.
live in a
Indeed.
manner of speaking. How are you?
I'm alive.
You're
I'm
alive?
doing okay. As you can see, I've recently moved, and the shrine space is still coming together. It's sort of randomly assorted here behind me. Um,
You got plenty
and
of company back there, which is good.
yeah, it's true. It's nice. I feel surrounded. I mean, the funny thing is that the Buddha is so small compared to Prajnaparamita, and then I mean, I have this other Buddha, standing Buddha, which I'll probably put in its place. So anyway.
For those of you listening on the podcast, you'll have to watch the video on YouTube to be able to see this.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And but I have to say, I spent a little. I finally, after being in Chicago over a year now, I finally went to the Art Institute.
Oh, it's great.
I became a member actually because it's. I've decided like I'll spend a few hours because I have an appointment every week right across the street on Wednesday morning, and I'll just take a few hours after that every week and sit in a gallery.
Sure.
Anyway, they have one huge Kuan Yin sculpture that is absolutely stunning, and so I kind of spent a little time with them, and they have a really good collection of Buddhist rupas, and to say nothing of everything else they have there. It's actually quite an institution. So
it is.
Yeah, I was happy to finally make that decision and just get there. Anyway, and I went to the opera last week too, which was
wow,
excellent opera company. A really delightful story of Medea.
Yeah, right.
Such a good family story.
Yeah, that's right. All those Greek tragedies.
Yes. Anyway. So it's nice to be here. It's been a while since we've had to take a break because of my life transitions here, which
you've been busy. Yeah, you've been
and,
back and forth and here and there and doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, so sort of like our minds can be. Which brings up today's topic of papañca.
Papañca. Our stories, getting lost in our stories.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's a big part of practice. I mean, it's the thing that kind of that people discover very quickly.
Yeah.
And then how do we work with it? And is it a bad thing or is it just a thing?
Right.
It's just a thing. Really, it's just kind of our minds doing what our minds do, and if we make a big deal out of it, that just creates more papañca. And the word itself is so onomatopoetic in terms of sounding like what it is, which I guess in English we would call it proliferation. Proliferation of the mind, and so what does the Buddha have to say about papañca?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different material in the early texts surrounding papañca, but basically, it's I mean, to my way of thinking, it's almost another way of understanding dukkha itself. If you think of the Buddha's discourse to Bahya, the bark cloth, the main discourse to him is just in the scene, let there only be the scene, basically, and what in another sutta he explains that essentially is talking about papañca, about the way that our minds tend to, when presented with simple, quote unquote, visual or auditory or whatever information, we tend to spin our own stories around it, and we get identified with the characters in our stories, and it all becomes personalized. And this happens in the blink of an eye, without our even without our even intending to do it. It just happens that we see something, somebody's looking at us from across the room, and all of a sudden, a whole story comes into being. That what are they looking at me for? What have I done? What, am I wearing the wrong hat? Whatever. And then, and so we spin this, the story gets spun in our heads, And then we start identifying with the characters in the story, one of the characters being, sort of us as the protagonist. And that's where things begin to go off the rails a lot of the time.
I think it's even worse when we're not the protagonist.
That's true. It can be. It
And
certainly can be.
and what's also amazing, yes, it can certainly happen when we see something and react in a particular way, but it can also just happen when a thought arises, and then
Sure.
that's probably for me, and I mean, I think that that can be like when when we are awakened in the middle of the night by
Mm,
a thought that arises, and then we carry on with that thought as if like our life depends on whatever our mind is telling us at that moment, and we don't like it and we're worried about it, and so that creates more stories and on and on, and it's just like, wow.
yeah.
And nothing has happened other than a thought,
Hmm.
right? And it's just yeah, I mean, it's the way our minds work, and until we see that clearly, we continually get stuck in it and believe it. um, and uh, and yet if we just come back and recognize, oh, it was just a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be based on something, but
Sure.
still, it's
Well,
just a
yeah, it's
thought.
all based on our
Yeah.
past, based on what we've seen, based on all kinds of things.
Mhm.
And I think one of the pitfalls that I mean, some people will run into from time to time is in, let's say, in meditation, or I mean, just in daily life, but certainly in meditation as well, is the feeling that we, in order to undo the dukkha, in order to get through it, we have to sort of get lost in the stories and figure out, what exactly is going on with everybody in the story and where it began and how it developed. And that can be useful in therapy, in various
Yeah,
forms of therapy. And I think it's important to realize the difference, that there are different approaches to, to essentially, in for want of a better term, mental health, to sort of getting through issues that we have in our lives.
sure.
And and within the context of of therapy, you do often want to deal with the stories and try to figure out where they came from, and what their past is, and how they got started, and whether they really are true or not, and work with them that way, with with somebody who knows what they're doing. But usually in the context of Buddhist practice, really, I mean, and you're very good at that, to say, leave the story aside. It's the story has its place, but in a sense, what we're trying to do is get out of that mental space of papancha, and for example, ask where it feels in the body. I mean, is it tense in the stomach? Is
Sure.
it tense in the shoulders? Which gets us out of the head, gets us out of the story, gets us into here and now, and just by doing that can be a real relief.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other approach that people try to take is to actually stop it.
Oh, exactly.
And that just creates more of the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, one has to sort of just recognize it for what it is, or our practice is recognizing it for what it is, naming it for what it is, and then letting it go is a little too easy to say. I think you're right. It's more about, for the starters, just redirecting to what else is here besides this ridiculous uh, yeah, ridiculous amount of activity in the mind,
Hmm.
um, in the thinking mind, in the habit mind. And when we do that, um, it definitely turns the volume down, and we can change our relationship to it, so that rather than thinking of it as a problem, we think of it just as, or we recognize it just as a habit, a
Hmm.
habit of mind. And part of that habit is identifying with it as my mind and my stories and my this and my that, my problems. They'll never go away because, this is me. And who would I be without these habits? Who would I be without this mind, without this crazy mind, And this is the crux of practice, actually, you know. Um, uh, and I think for me, at least, the moment I kind of saw that for what it was, everything changed. At least at that moment, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like I don't have papañca. Of course I do, and it's what keeps me up at night. Which is, the worst part of it. I mean, right now, for instance, I am dealing with, for the first time in my life, actually, I'm dealing with physical pain
Oh, I'm sorry.
related to. I mean, first I thought it was just arthritis, which is part of it, but then I finally went to an orthopedist. Yes, well, I've been to a couple, but I went to another one yesterday. Had X-rays of my lower back, and discovered nothing serious. I mean, it's just aging. Although there was discovered a little stress fracture in one of the vertebrae, which could have been there most of my life,
Mm.
right? And right now, it's just creating some compression of the nerves, which is creating, occasional pain down my right side. And it's like, oh wow! And when I feel it the most is when I'm in bed, doing
Mm.
virtually nothing physically, and then the stories pile up, and it's like, as opposed to just like coming back to the sensation itself, and uh, and the other side of my body, which is not in pain. It's like everything goes to that, and the stories emanate from that. Is it always going to be like this? Will I ever get rid of
Mm.
it? What is the best thing to do? Should I, you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to do surgery. That isn't. I mean, it is an option, but it's like the last thing I want,
Yeah.
and because it's never guaranteed. Drugs, sure, but it's like we'll try those and see what happens. But yeah, so you get in. It's so easy to fall into this, and and yet it's 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 part of the path is to see it, to recognize it, and to skillfully sort of bring our practice to it in a way that changes our relationship to it completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and to see, I mean, I think to try to see it for what it is as
Yeah,
just another story, and the great expression, I love, of not believing everything you think,
yeah,
um, of just, it's the mind doing the mind's thing. It's just a
yeah,
bunch of, a bunch of thoughts and ideas that arise on their own without our intentional doing of anything. It just, this stuff just comes up and okay, here's another story and let it go. I mean, the problem is, and I've noticed this, over years, certain times in myself, is that, there are times when that works, and it may take time, but it can work to, sit with it and see how it's going. And there are other times where it does seem out of control. And if it seems like it's really out of control and taking over your life, then it can help to have somebody to talk to,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh
because
yeah, it's not
dealing
about
with it
avoiding
alone
that.
is hard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. We can't bypass what needs to be looked at in that way at all.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's really important. Um, and then once, I mean, if that's needed, we do it. How do we judge if it's needed? I mean, the therapeutic side, right?
Mm. I think if
You
it's out
think
of
about,
control, I mean, if you really feel like it's completely out of
yeah,
control and you can't, you just, no matter what you do, it's there and it's becoming a detriment to your life.
well, and particularly if those stories are telling you things that are really,
Certainly.
dangerous or not
Sure.
skillful or whatever. I mean,
Hmm.
then it's like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
something's not right here. Where are those
Hmm.
coming from?
Yeah.
And yeah, um, yeah, And then, I think it's important also, if we sort of go right back to the Satipatthana Sutta, where it's talking about, the mind internally, and then the external nature of that practice, which is recognizing that we're not the only ones who are dealing with this, for one thing, and that, as you said at the very beginning, if somebody looks at us in a funny way from across the room and we create the stories, well, what stories am I creating at the same time, about that person or those people,
Mm-hmm.
and these are all, it's all part of the same quality of fabrication and proliferation of that fabrication. Um, and when we realize that we're not the only ones having this experience, oh well, that when we realize that the other is likely to be proliferating about me as much as I'm proliferating about the other, then where does that go? How do we work with that? And again, it's just a matter of seeing it, knowing it, and skillfully responding to it, as opposed to seeing it and then reacting ourselves. And then that creates another reaction, and we just get caught in our joint proliferations, which just lead to whatever, and we can particularly see that in our closest relationships, because, then it gets very caught up in the way we communicate with each other, that we're each internally responding to our own proliferation, and then that creates a joint proliferation, which just creates more it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And so in the middle of all that, if you just say, wait a minute, stop, let's
Mm-hmm.
just stop. What do they call it? That sacred pause.
Mm-hmm.
You take that pause, and in that pause, all that stuff can lessen, if not go away. And then our practice would be, and what's actually here really now, in this
Mm-hmm.
moment, in this body, in this relationship. Um, and this is what doesn't happen in the world, unfortunately.
All too rarely.
Yeah. And all it takes is a pause. And, well, a skillful pause.
Well, and some insight into what's really going on, which
Yeah.
is so difficult to get sometimes.
Yeah. But just looking at the quote ceasefire that's going on now in the Middle East, one little thing will set it off again, right? Because it's like there's no reflection about anything that happens. It's all reaction, and so we can see the world in proliferation. And actually, what's it? Just that word proliferation, which was so often. I think I talked a few podcasts ago about this event I went to here in the summer, which was a gathering of Nobel physicists who were, concerned about the proliferation of nuclear weapons again.
Yeah.
And, we look at the Cold War and how we just continually built more and more nuclear weapons because the other side was doing it. And it's like, wait a minute, how many do we need? Why does it have to proliferate? And the danger is obvious. So it's like, that's a sort of governmental papañca. It's like nobody listening to the other side, nobody actually realizing taking the time to sort of note, well, what's really happening, what's really needed, what's important now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also on an individual political level, we're all prone to papañca about, what we think of the quote unquote other side.
Yeah.
We see somebody wearing a red hat and we make all kinds of assumptions and the papañca starts and, it can go from there. And, we're all prone to it. It's something that's universal. And I think it can, there'll be some there'll always be some kernels of truth to what we're thinking, and there'll also be always some falsehoods to what we're thinking. And it's it's the human condition. I was going to say it's tough.
Yeah.
It's the human condition.
But also it's like algorithms are based on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what they do.
And, and so do we even know our own algorithm internally? It's like, what is the algorithm of this brain and the way it proliferates based on certain habits? I mean, it's amazing. So all that really is happening with our social stream is an external version of what's happening on the internal stream.
Yeah.
And rarely do we look at it that way, but that's exactly what it is. And it's like, wow, pretty smart, these guys figuring that out, yeah. So, what do we do about it? What do we do about it with that? Well, we turn off our social streams. So we turn off our. I wrote you yesterday, right? Because I upgraded to whatever Tahoe, right?
The new the operating system. Yeah.
OS, and then suddenly I couldn't get online.
Yeah, right.
And I spent 2 hours between 7:30 and 9:30 trying to figure it out.
Oh,
couldn't get anywhere.
Gosh.
And then I had these appointments, and I came back. I still couldn't figure it out. Finally, I called Apple support, and all it was ESET, my one of my security things that was like not compatible with the updated software, and so everything got blocked.
Yeah, of course.
And but what was it like to be without
internet?
Anything? Yeah.
Gosh.
I mean, I don't have an Instagram account. I barely look at Facebook. Well, I waste time on Facebook, but I don't really do much with it. And it knows, but it knows what it thinks I like, and so I can see that. And but what is it like to shut it off? How do we do? And of course I hear people say this all the time. And it's in those moments of letting go of our phones, letting go of our desire for social media, that things start to change. And then we can see it see how our own mind operates the exact same way.
Yeah, it is kind of like external papañca, isn't it?
Yeah.
Social media. It's doing the same kind of thing. Sort of the next scroll up is sort of like the next thought coming up, that is not really, it's not you that's doing it. It's just coming up. And I mean, I think there are things we can do with social media to at least try to curate what we're getting sent by the algorithm. And if we're getting sent a lot of crap, then just not, I mean, and by crap, I mean that I think if, at least from my own experience, if I notice that I am getting agitated, angry, upset by watching social media, then I'm more prone to understand that I should turn it off. In fact, that was what happened with me with TikTok, is that, I mean, I had a TikTok account for a while, and it was so addictive. I mean, clearly they know what they're doing. But I found that I was just getting, sort of sucked into it. And when I would be there for 5 or 10 minutes, I just, felt agitated. And so I just stopped using it. And at least for me, for now, other ones of those social medias don't really affect me quite so badly. I mean, I watch enough. I give thumbs up to enough cat videos that that they keep showing me cat videos, and that's not so bad. I'm willing to do that. The papañca of a cat running around the room is fine with me. So.
And then, do you get cat food commercials and things?
Yeah, I get cat food commercials and things. Yeah. I mean, that's not all that I get, but yeah, there's enough of that and that kind of thing.
Now there's all this AI stuff that has these cats doing stupid things.
Oh, yeah, right. There's all kind of stuff. Yeah, that for sure.
Flying airplanes and
yeah.
doing triple sow cows.
That's right.
Sort of. So, um, yeah, we've set ourselves these traps, and now we're, so yeah. So just think of papañca as your social stream,
It is. Yeah.
your media stream of your own mind, and then when you find yourself stuck in it, as we all do, I think bringing humor to it helps. Just kind of saying, again, that again, it's like, and or just say, okay, I know you, and what else is here?
Mm-hmm. I
Oh
see
yeah, there's
you. I see you, Mara. Yeah.
yeah, and there's my body here and my breath here, and I'm looking out the window at the lake. There's the lake there, and so it's all. Or I know you like to have birds. There are birds outside your window, and so these are just ways of working with the nature of this wacky mind we all have, and not taking it so damn seriously. Um, except when it needs to be taken seriously and addressed in a particular way. But for those of us who aren't necessarily um, dealing with those kind of stories, um, just an understanding of the nature of mind will help. And
Yeah.
the Buddha understood the nature of mind pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazingly.
Yeah, and I think if we're able to get ourselves to a place of not taking it so seriously, of, as you say, of sort of laughing at it, of
Yeah.
thinking of it humorously, or at least in a way that we can relax around it, then then we're in a relatively good space. I think the problems, at least I can say from my own circumstances, the problems come when I notice that I can't get there. Where I am taking it seriously, and I tell myself not to, and I just can't get out of that. That's when I feel like I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to talk
Yeah.
to. I need something
Yeah. And that's really helpful.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
Important to realize that distinction, so that we don't just keep banging our heads against a wall that's not opening for us.
So,
Get help.
what kind of papañca do you have when you're out of coffee?
Well, what happened the other week is our coffee grinder died. Oh my God. Our coffee grinder died. And there was some papañca around that, let me tell you, because it was like, what am I going to do? We have to get a new coffee grinder, and it's going to take a couple of days to arrive. And so, I had to go to the...
Actually, Amazon here will deliver like the same day. It's like I can.
Well,
Anyway.
yeah, but you're lucky on that, not me.
It's true.
But I mean, it was like we had one of those cans of coffee things that we had gotten for free somewhere in the refrigerator that had been there for like a year, because we don't really, that's not something but we kept it, and just in thinking that we might need it someday. And hey, I needed it. So
Right.
it was terrible. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. But,
The coffee.
the coffee, you open the can and you put it in it's just awful,
Right.
but whatever. At least it
You
was
survived.
coffee.
Yeah.
I survived.
But the thoughts around it were.
It's
I'm
the
sure,
thoughts
yes.
coming up.
How am I going to deal with this? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all that to say, if you'd like to support the show, and we've had some nice support come in, and we appreciate that, you can buy us a coffee at our website, Space to
Digging the Dharma.
Wrong website, diggingthedharma.com.
Diggingthedharma.com. Let me put up on the screen here for those who might be watching.
If you happen to be listening to this now, like, what is it, Friday morning or tomorrow, Saturday, and you are in the Chicago area, I will be leading a day-long retreat here on campus on Sunday.
Good.
Called, what am I calling it?
And you'll probably be leading these retreats in the future too, so keep an eye out for them. Yeah.
But I do one a quarter here now, a day long. So, and it's great because it's mostly students. I love it.
But anyone's able to go.
Open to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see you next week. I hope we'll plan next week and hope for the best. We've got some guests coming up, and the next few weeks. And so good to be back.
Yeah, great to have you.
All
Great to
right,
be
folks,
here.
keep digging the Dharma. And Doug, until next week.
See you
Keep that
then.
Papañca volume low. Okay.
Keep a bunch of volume low, right? And thanks for all of our listeners right now. We got some nice comments just here at the end from Objective Subjective. So
Great.
anyway, see you next week.
Okay.
I hope.
Take care.